Hi, this is Miss Hottie from Olympian High School. This is for Mr. Hammond's class and my class. We're going to be looking at Chapter 19 in Traditions and Encounters by Dr. Bentley. I'm going to do a little introduction for you. So to really understand this chapter, you need to understand that the historiography of Africa has changed over time. So historiography is how the writing of history changes over time. And one of the things that's changed is that we're starting to pay more attention to Africa in general. This was something that I struggled with when I was a young student. I always wanted to learn more about Africa, and I remember that the books were very European-centric, meaning that there was maybe one chapter on all of Africa in our world history book, and that was just very frustrating. And so now there's more inclusion of Africa, but still not enough, not as much as probably could be included. So you'll notice that this is the first chapter. You wait until chapter 19, the first chapter to address Sub-Saharan Africa fully. The last time you heard about Africa, if you took Ancient World History, was chapter 3, which was really focusing more on North Africa. So, for example, like the civilizations around the Nile River, Egypt and Nubia. And then at the very end of the chapter, they talked a little bit about the Bantu migration. So if you are interested in Africa, you can go back to chapter 3 and learn about chapter 3. And this part I would suggest is to go to the very end section where it talks about Bantu migrations in early societies of sub-Saharan Africa. So when we say sub-Saharan Africa, you should know that there's a desert there called the Sahara Desert. It didn't always exist. Around 5000 BCE, that region that used to be steppe land became desiccated or drier, and it turns into the biggest desert on Earth, the Sahara Desert. And so the civilizations south of that sub-Saharan Africa are the civilizations we're looking at. We're not really looking right now at the civilizations by the Nile River, which hopefully you guys know about Africa. One thing I want to fix for you is a potential misunderstanding. When students aren't familiar with something, they see it as being all the same, right? So if we don't know any Asian people, we might think all Asians are the same, but they're not. And it's even within a particular civilization, like if we just take Filipino civilization, there are differences between Filipinos themselves. There's differences between all kinds of groups of people. So I just want to address this mistake that often students make, which is generalizing too much about Africa, which means they are thinking all Africans are the same. Africans are not the same. Africa is a huge, huge continent. And so I don't want you to think of Africa as a country. I want you to remember your region. So there's North Africa, East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, and you also have Southern Africa, not to be confused with the country South Africa. So we're not looking at North Africa right now, we're looking at things below the Sahara. So the regions north of the Sahara, sometimes people group those areas with the Middle East, which is where I'm from, so Arabs, and others. It's not the only ethnic group from there. And people identify differently. So there are Arabs like me from Egypt that don't call themselves Arab. They call themselves Egyptian or African because technically they are from Africa, in the same way that I might call myself Southwest Asian, even though you might not think of me as Asian because technically the Middle East is in Asia. So just to clarify, Africa is a big place, right? It's huge. And it's very difficult to generalize about a place that large and people that are so different from each other. But some things, so let's not do that. Let's not call Africa a country. It's a continent, and we want to think of it region by region, and we want to think that there's great variation or differences between people. Even what you read in the book is hiding some potential or obscuring, complicating some more complicated ways of understanding people fully by making generalizations. Okay, so go back to chapter 3, read about the Bantu migrations, know that the Bantu people originated in Cameroon and that they start migrating circa or around 3000 BCE. By 1000 BCE, they've really picked up the pace. Some effects of their migration is they're going to spread agriculture, they're going to spread their language, and they're going to spread iron metallurgy or iron tools. So this same exact map will appear in chapter 19 as well. So go back, look at the iron, look at the diffusion of agriculture, look at the impact they have on hunting and gathering people within Africa. You can read about monotheistic beliefs in Africa as early as 5000 BCE. You can read about the tremendous variation within the religious beliefs of African society. So just a tip there, if you're wanting to know more about Africa, you're not alone. And then when you start the chapter, it's going to tell you about the story of Sundiata, which is an oral tradition told by griots. Griots are oral storytellers. And this is the same story that supposedly makes the Disney movie The Lion King. So you can read about Sundiata and his kingdom and begin to understand how trade affects the development of empires in Africa. And we'll look at that in chapter 19.